more we have. Thank you. All right, good morning, everyone. I think we can start now. We do have some critical mass in here. And this training will be recorded, so everyone will receive the video afterwards. So if anyone comes late, we'll still be able to see the first part that they missed. My name is Salam Alyafi. I am a project manager here at the Technical Assistance section, and I do manage the Profits and Pictured Master Agreement here. And today I'll go ahead and give you a live demo over the monthly meeting template. Quickly, yeah, as I said, I want to do a live demo of the template, and then we're gonna have our Q&A after the demo. So I'm gonna go ahead and open the template right now. Right, so as you're already aware, this template, the reason for this template is to standardize basically the monthly meeting calls across all the projects in the technical assistance section. And starting here, just to go over a quick brief overview over the whole template, we do have 5 main tabs here, and the last one is more for just some data validation table. The first one we have in here, we do have some instructions on how to basically fill all this template. And then we do have the meeting minutes, which I believe is going to be the most active tab that you're going to be using every time. And then we have also the project background here of some of the information, which we'll go over today. And then we have the contact list. And then we have the simplified minutes, which is something new that we added after listening to your comments. And we will also go over it on today's training. And this last one here is the validation table, which can be hidden, and I will show you later. Starting with the instructions, I'm gonna definitely leave you read this at your own pace on how to fill each of the entries in this table. But mainly I want to go over some of the main instructions here, which is that the TA providers are responsible for filling and completing this template or the monthly meeting minutes and distribute it to all parties involved in the project. And the expectation is that this could be shared as the agenda 1 business day before the meeting and also be distributed within 2 business days after the call. So these are the main general expectations for this template or the meeting minutes. And then we can go ahead and start with the main meeting minutes tab, which contains all the most important information for each of the meetings every month. Starting with the top here, this is some basic information about the meeting, starting with the date, the time, and called by who. This is the TA provider's name. So if it's RCAC holding the call, you'll just put RCAC in there. And then the location. If it's virtual, you just put virtual teams. If it's in person, you put the address in there. And then the agreement number is basically for the construction agreement. So if there is none at the time you're filling this, you can put not applicable or to be determined, TBD. And the subject line here is the AR number and the name of the project that you're working on. One new thing I think that you will see here that was not in the first draft that we sent over is the current TA milestone. This basically is the phases of the project. This is something that DFA is implementing here just to track the projects and where they at. As you can see, we have phase one as the initial community outreach, and then we have feasibility study as phase two. Phase three is an engineering report. Phase four is full planning for funding. Phase five, construction support, or the other. As a lot of you have maybe projects that only deals with public water systems, phase one might not be applicable. You might start with phase two. Phase one is mainly applicable for state small or domestic wells where you have to do an outreach first and then do the feasibility study. So if you're dealing with public water systems, most likely you'll be in phase two, which is a feasibility study. Let's assume you are doing community outreach and feasibility at the same time, then it will be phase two, which is the feasibility study. There's more instructions that you can read, but if you have any questions about any of this, please feel free to reach out to your PM and we'll clarify that. Then here we do have the attendees. Basically just the people that attend the meeting. You just check if they're there or not. And this is different than the contact list. The difference is for example, the contact list can include some contacts like the operator who does not attend the meetings, but it's good to have their contact on the list. So if anyone wants to reach out for any specific information, they can reach out to. But the attendees are those people who regularly attend the monthly meetings. And then below here is the main table that would contain all the information about the nodes. And specifically, this table is geared toward the deliverables. We want the monthly meetings to focus on the deliverables and the work that has been done in each month in between the calls. As you see here, some of the tasks in the work plan can have multiple deliverables, not just one. So the goal is to have each deliverable stated on this table. So for example, if you do have an engineering report draft and you have an engineering report final, these are two separate deliverables and must be included on this table. So you will have two different rows or entries for each of the deliverables. Next, we do have the previous call notes versus the current monthly call notes. This is basically where you're going to put all the new notes for this for the current meeting, and then on the next meeting, basically you will take this notes and then you copy paste it to the previous call notes, so people can see basically the notes from last monthly, and you can compare it to the current monthly meeting. Just and then here we have the action items and responsible parties. So if someone and specific entity or stakeholder is responsible, for example, for getting any information on any of these deliverables, then you put their names in here so that in the next monthly meeting, you can follow up and get the update on the specific action item that was assigned to that stakeholder or to any entity that is involved in the project. Next here, we do have the deliverable start date. This deliverable start date is exactly the date that is on the work plan. It has to match exactly what's on the work plan. If you do have a work plan amendment, then you're going to have to update this date to match exactly what's on the work plan amendment. This cannot be changed if it's not, if the work plan is not amended. And my apologies. I guess I missed the deliverable due date with the deliverable start date here. That's a quick confusion there. Sorry. So the start date is going to be the date that the TA provider is going to start on any of the deliverables here. This is a date that needs to be determined by the TA providers. It is not something that is on the work plan. This is new. So we will leave it to the TA providers to determine what is the date to put here. We received some of the comments that some of the deliverables starts basically when the work plan is executed, which is which might be the case on some of the deliverables, but some, for example, if you have an environmental work that needs to be done, it might be done later when you start doing the designs. So you will have to put that date just for the awareness of all the stakeholders. So that's for the start date. But then here the due date, that's when I was mentioning earlier, that should match exactly what's on the work plan. Exactly, yeah. If you need to do a work plan amendment, then you update the dates in here. Then we have here the actual submission day. Actual submission day, it could be different from the dates we have in the work plans. It could be before or it could be after. And if for some reason going to be after because there is delays, then this have to be put in red, as we have at the legend here. Overdue action items has to be in red, new text has to be in blue, and existing text has to be in black. Last row here, these are the durations. There's no entry that you have to put there. We did just the formula based on some of the comments that we received from the TA providers to adjust the duration days. So now the formula basically first would look at the start date and the deliverable due date. But then if you put an actual submission date, it will change it based on the actual submission date. And this is strictly only for the Gantt chart in here. So yeah, you don't need to put any information in there. And then below the table here, that's when you're gonna have this open discussion for partner updates and questions and discussions. We heard from you on some of the feedback we received that this might be limiting in a sense where it could limit the discussions. But we believe also having this section here is where you can discuss any topics that you have that is relatable to the projects. So yeah, you provide basically partner updates, any general questions here, basically where you put all the partner names, and here where you're gonna put basically all the notes. And this is connected to the new thing that we implemented, which is the simplified minutes, which I'll go over in a minute, but it's going to be connected and I'll show you in a second. After the partner updates, question discussions, here we do have just basic information about the next call. So everyone is aware of basically the time and then when is the next call. A new section that we added here is regarding the construction application. This is something management want to see. And if you're in the feasibility study phase and your work plan is only for a feasibility study, then this all will be here, like not applicable or to be determined. But once we start doing full planning and we submit a general package, we should have already an idea of basically how much are we asking for construction. So the estimated construction application will be put in here, and then the funding pathway either is DWSRF or the expedited drinking water grant or the urgent drinking water need. This sometimes the TA provider won't know what to put in there, so please coordinate with your project manager to get you this information. So this will be in coordination with the TA project manager and the SRF project manager as well. Then we're gonna have the estimated complete application submittal date. This is basically when the TA provider is going to submit all the 4 packages. We're talking about the general package, the technical package, the financial package, and the environmental package. If you already have that, basically the quarter, you're just gonna put that in there. And if you have the exact date, you can also put that in there as well. And then the estimated construction execution date or the quarter. This will also be in coordination with the TA project manager and also the SRF project manager, which is basically the construction PM. Okay, now we can move to the next tab, which is the project background. So a lot of the information on this template will be basically the same for a long time until there is any updates that needs to be included in here. As you can see, the project type is drinking water. This might never change in there. And then you have the public water system ID. Yeah, we missed that on the first draft. So thank you so much for pointing that out. That was very important to add there. And then we do have the safer status, and that should be from the safer dashboard. When you check it, when we assign it, most of the time we will already provide the safer status. But if, for example, if the system is failing today, you put the date in there. And then if you check in 6 months and if the system is no longer failing and is at risk right now, so what you're just gonna need to do is basically you're gonna have to put that note in there. You do not delete the previous note because just we want to keep track of the safer status for the systems over the project lifetime. So you're just gonna put in there at risk for as of today or as of the current date, and you just leave it there. The same thing with the median household income, which is the MHI. It's good to keep track of this, and I believe it would be updated every single year because that's how the MHI could change. Or every 2 years, probably in some cases. So yeah, you just put the MHI if it's that when you started the project, and then after a year or two, if it's updated, please update this information and also leave the MHI there just for record keeping. And all this, by the way, is all included in the instruction. I'm just doing the live. So hopefully, yeah, you will find everything in the instructions there. And next, we do have the TA start date, which is basically what's on the work plan. And then the project background. It's basically the problem of like, what is it that we're trying to address? What is the problem that we're trying to fix with this project? If it's nitrate, contamination, well failed, consolidation, whatever the case is, you just put it there. And then the scope of the work, and that would be a feasibility study, full planning. It could also be a rate study or cap development, like helping with capital improvements, whatever the scope of the work just needs to be put there. And then population, connections for the water system, the county, the fast bin. This might not be available when we start the project. It's only going to be available once you submit the general package. So once you do, please put the fast bin in there. And then the associated funding agreements. Sometimes we do already have some projects where we assign a TA provider to that already have a started application in place and they already have an associated funding agreement. If that's the case, please coordinate with the TA, with the project manager and include that number in there. And here, lastly, we do have the associated work plans. As you all know, in some of the projects, we do have multiple TA providers that do help communities or water systems. And if that's the case, include the associated work plans as the same as mentioned here. So basically, with the TA providers and the AR number, and just separate them by commas in there. And then here we do have the contact list. This basically the contact list where all the important contacts from stakeholders or third-party entities that are very critical to the project should be included. As you can see here, we do have just the names, the project role, for example, TA project manager, the organizations, the water boards, DFA specifically here, phone number, email, address. Address in some cases is not available, so that's totally fine. But if there is an address, you can leave it there. And the notes here, basically, we believe it's really good to have a record of, because there's a lot of PMs, for example, that go in and out the project. So having that note just to specify when was that project manager added to the project will be helpful in the future, especially if that project manager is still working with that entity, because you could basically refer back to them for any, previous information. And if someone leaves their position no longer working on this project, we ask that you don't delete that name. You just move it from the contact list to the remove from the list. So people know that these people used to work on the project and you keep that record. And it's going to be very helpful if you ever have any questions or need any information from that person that used to work on the project, hoping that they still work with the entity. And last important tab in here is the simplified minutes. We did receive a lot of valid feedback and important feedback from all of you about the accessibility issue, mentioning that Excel is not as friendly as Word document when it comes to writing notes. And you also mentioned that a lot of people in the communities that you work with might not have the ability to access Excel. And in some cases, some people use their phones also just to read the meeting minutes, and they don't have laptops or computers just to open it and open Excel and then read the minutes. So what we did here, we included the simplified minutes, which basically will capture all the meeting minutes that you include in this tab, everything that you include here for the monthly meeting. So I'm gonna just do for a quick example here just to show you. Give me 1 second there. So I'm gonna input this note here. This is for, yeah, this is just a random note. This is basically the email that I sent you yesterday. And then you go to the simplified minutes. So I'm gonna include my name here. So I'm happy. So whatever notes you put in there, you go to the simplified minutes. First thing you need to do, you just do data and then refresh all. When you do refresh all, it basically brings all the notes from the meeting minutes that you included. So this will be updated automatically. All you need to do is basically click on data, refresh all, and all the notes that you did right will show up here. Once you have that, once you have all the notes, all you need to do is go to File, and then you will do Print, and then you just print it to a PDF. So you will have a PDF ready. So, and the instructions are just do landscape orientation, then fit all columns. This all instructions are included in the first tab. But to show you here, you will have a PDF ready. All you just to do is save it, and then it will be ready for you to share with anyone that have any accessibility issue when it comes to Excel. So we do understand that, and we take in consideration. That's why we developed this new tab. Here, I just downloaded the PDF and I will show it to you. Give me 1 second. All right. That was the PDF I just downloaded right now. So you'll be able to have this type of notes to be shared with people that don't have any access to Excel. And then lastly here, we do have that data validation table. I just recommend that you just hide it. You can hide that because that is strictly only for the current TI milestones. Yeah, perfect. Yeah, with that, I believe I covered everything here on the template. So we would now open it for questions. Let's do some questions and answers here. All right, I want to just open the chat to see if there is any questions.
It looks like we have one in chat.
Okay, we have one from Linda. Good question, Linda. So she's asking basically if you do have a new deliverable date that basically you have the approval from DFA revised, you can include that. You don't have to basically to strike it through. You can just update the new one. We have the second question, which is on the meeting minutes form. Is there guidance for estimating the TA completion date? Often we start just with the feasibility study, so full application submittal may not occur for 2, 3 more years due to work plan. approvals, application package development. Hey, Maureen, I'm trying to understand your question here a bit. Do you want to unmute yourself? Like
So to
yeah,
maybe unless Maureen, wanted to unmute and maybe elaborate.
yeah,
Um, yeah, I think Maureen, what you're getting at is like if we're early on in a project, there's a lot of uncertainty, and it might be hard to estimate that actual date that the application will be submitted. I think in a lot of cases where we're early on in the feasibility study or the engineering report phases, that would probably take coordination with the assigned technical assistance PM um, to kind of land on a reasonable date. It's probably going to be easier to estimate, once we get to the full planning phases and we're further along, once there's a preferred alternative selected. But I think we'll need to coordinate on that date because that is going to land into like some of the other projection work that we've been doing, looking at, estimating which fiscal year we're expecting this planning work to be completed. But yeah, with the uncertainty that I think the earlier on in the project we are, it's going to be a more uncertain date. And that really is just an estimate that we're hoping to track there.
yeah. Thank you, James. Thanks for that. Next, would DFA prefer that we distribute meeting notes in Excel or PDF form, or both? It could be both, but we want to be distributed in Excel. But if you do have any members of the communities or any stakeholder that have any issues with Excel, then please go ahead and do the PDF form as we showed here through the simplified minutes and distribute that to them. Just wondering if there is a guidance for estimating construction start dates. You want to take that one, James?
I think that's similar to my previous response. And maybe I misread Maureen's other comment too, because she was asking about estimating the TA completion date on her previous comment. But similar to that, yeah, you need to coordinate with the PM, and as things get further along in planning, we can button down and adjust that estimated construction start date. I mean, I think we recognize that that's going to be heavily dependent on timing around construction funding in most cases.
Yeah, thank you, James. And then we go to the question from Jesse. Are we adding new tabs for each month or creating a new file each month? You will be creating a new file each month. So you won't be basically repeating this tab again, because after 2 years or 3 years of project progress, that will be overwhelming to have many tabs in here. And we do have a question from Alex. Are there any links that break in the work? Who should we go for tech support? You can reach out to the TA project manager, and then we will, yeah, based on the issue, we'll get back to you, resolve it, and get back to you on that. But I'm the main person who worked in this Excel sheet, so I hope that I'll be able to resolve whatever issue that you have, hopefully. Can you please review what you were sharing? We can hide a few moments ago. Oh, yeah, this was basically here. I'm gonna show you again. Oops, let me right click. What's happening here? All right, I'm just gonna unhide that. So there's this tab, the last tab in here. It's called the data validation table. As you can see here, these are just the phases, and I needed that to use it for the drop-down menu here for the current TA milestones. So basically, you don't need this. You don't need to update it. It's just going to be living there. And so all you can do is just right click on it and then hide. It's just so that you don't have to see it all the time. Then on the contact list, we have a question from Edsel.
Oh, really quick, Salim. It looks
Yes.
like there was also another question from Vera about the transition to this format, whether it's immediate. And
Oh,
so, yeah, Vera, going forward from this meeting, we do want to be implementing this format with the project check-in meetings. I mean, if you have a meeting today, probably don't have time to prepare, the meeting either today or like the remainder for this week. But I think, yeah, going forward from here, any check-in meetings, we do want to see this template be implemented.
thanks, James.
And,
Okay.
and at the same time, of course, staying open to comments. And as we implement this process, yeah, please let us know issues or comments that you do have.
Yes. Uh, thanks, James. All right. Next one we have here is about the contact list tab. Can we add new columns? For instance, we have some project partners that are active in the project but are not included in the project email list. I'd want to include a column that says something like on email list to clarify who's currently on the project email list or not. I don't think they'll fit under removed attendees. You can basically include that on the notes, that information, because right now this basically this template is locked. All the columns here, all the fields that we're asking for, they're locked. So we're gonna implement it as is, and then we're gonna receive all the comments from you and the feedback once you start working on it. And if there's any modifications that we need to do, we're more happy to incorporate that. And then next we do have a question from Jesse. What are we submitting as a formal work plan deliverable? Are we expected to submit these monthly through our FastPen, or will the final monthly meeting summary be adequate? Are you referring to the monthly meeting notes as the work plan deliverables? Yeah, James,
Yeah,
can you read
Jesse, it
that?
might be helpful if you could
Yeah,
possibly come off mute and maybe we can discuss your question here.
Okay, I'll try.
Thanks.
We have multiple computers going here, so it's going to be tough.
Yours.
Turn off mine.
Oh, the owners.
Okay.
We are hearing you though. Yeah.
Okay, great.
I like hear some echo. Okay.
We're on top of yours. Sorry, we're in our boardroom with our stuff.
Okay, can you still hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you for your patience. I apologize. So we are just wondering if these minutes count as formal work plan deliverables. Because what's that?
For project.
For the project management task on our work plans. Are we expected to be submitting these through FAST, or are these just for distribution to the project work group?
I see. No, you will not be expected to submit these through FAST. These can just come out via email to the project stakeholders.
Thank you.
Yeah.
and then we have the next question from Jeremy. I think, yeah, I'm gonna have you take that one, James. Which is, any chance that this could simplify quarterly progress reporting, since much more detailed data will be collected on a monthly basis? For example, QPR could provide project level updates versus work plan task level updates.
I think there's potential for this to, yeah, maybe affect, the format and what is submitted quarterly. This is not replacing the quarterly progress reporting requirement, because that's a requirement from the funding agreement that needs to be submitted along with your claims. But I think if you have any like more specific recommendations, if you could submit those to us, yeah, we could be open to reviewing.
And then next
I think
question.
I think you are hitting on, oh, sorry, Slim. I think you are hitting on a good point here, though. That this is it's kind of the intent of this exercise, right? It does give us a much more detailed month-to-month look at the status of these deliverables, and a lot of the times maybe that information was being provided quarterly, but this gives a much more to the minute snapshot of where that project is at. But yeah, we can be open to discuss there.
Next, I do have one. Sorry, anyone had a question? Or next, I can address Jesse's regarding the legend. The legends here. Yeah, so basically all this, all the existing text, like, the names of the deliverables, the dates, everything here should be on written down in black. You should use black. And then any new information, new text, for example, all the current monthly call notes, that'll be put in blue, just to distinguish between the new notes versus the old notes. And then here we only have the third color, which is red. Red should be used for any late or overdue deliverables. So if you have this one as late, you should put it in red. If it's the actual submission date before the deliverable due date, then you can just put it there in blue or black. It doesn't have to be in red. I hope that answers your question, Jesse. Project. That's a good question from Abilene. She's basically, I'm on a project with 4 TA providers for one community, and we all meet once a month as a large group rather than multiple monthly calls. One TA provider is the overall project manager facilitator. Would this template be modified so each TA provider has one tab and we all collaborate? That's a very good question and very good scenario. James, you want to?
I think it's a good question.
Yeah.
And we'd be looking at, as part of this monthly update, collecting updates on the deliverables that are providing the critical path to receive a complete construction funding application. And I know that might not answer the question 100%, but really in those cases, you most of the time would have a TA provider who's primarily responsible for the bulk of the application package, and you'll have other supporting tasks, possibly legal support or maybe community outreach being provided by other providers. I think in those cases, we could also maybe discuss how to best accommodate that. I think the priority would be capturing the critical path items on the construction funding application. And then we could either modify, possibly the table on the meeting minutes tab to collect deliverables from the other TA providers involved, or possibly even include those in the partner updates section.
Yeah. I also be curious also, what is the existing methods that you use in this project? How do you take the minutes and who is responsible for that? So that, because this Excel sheet here, it just replaces the existing template minutes that we have. But yeah, this is a great question. All right, next we have Jesse. What's the vision for meeting facilitation? Example, go through each deliverable first, project issues. Correct. Yes, the goal for this to standardize the meetings is to go through the deliverables. We want to have discussion over what's the deliverables next. And then once you are done discussing the deliverables, you can have it as what we said here, partner updates, questions, and open discussions for everyone. Then we have question from Mela. So envisioning using this template as a TA provider leading a call, I imagine we will mainly have the meeting minutes tab open and start with going through every work plan deliverable down the list as a group. I'm thinking this section and the section below where each partner gives their updates and brings questions will have a lot of overlap. Would we only capture non-deliverable related additional discussion in the bottom green section? In the bottom. I gotta read it again.
Yeah, or would you possibly be able to unmute Mila and maybe
Was
help
that? Yeah.
elaborate on your comment?
Hey there, this is Mila. Yeah, my question was very similar to Jesse's actually, the one right above it that you answered.
Okay.
So I guess like I'm just envisioning during a call, we'll mostly have this tab open, right? Meeting minutes.
Right.
And as a group, we'll first go through each deliverable,
Mhm.
bring our questions, updates there. So my question was the bottom section there, the partner updates. Sorry, it was green on the template that I had saved, but it's navy
Yeah.
here as well. Do we like what I guess like do we capture like non-deliverable related additional discussion that we had or yeah,
Right.
like I just envision a lot of overlap, like usually, engineers bringing updates, Enviro bringing updates, like those all kind of fit into the deliverable section up top. So
Right. So yeah, if all the updates that are provided from any person on the call is related to, for example, a feasibility study, then yes, it should be included in the feasibility study deliverable. I see your point. And then here, basically, that's where basically there is, topics that are related to the project, but they're not directly related to a feasibility study. For example, if there is like, assuming there is an issue with the system that someone wants to bring up, for example, a main that just broke or a leak that has just happened, and you're receiving that update from the operator, then you might capture it here because it's not related to the deliverable that you're working on at the moment. Does that make sense?
yes, thank you.
Of course. And then we have, can you please show again how the simple agreements are populated? Yeah, definitely. And also you will find them also here. The instructions, we added them to the bottom. They're pretty simple, honestly, but I'm more than happy, yes, to show you here again. So yeah, you go just basically any notes that you add here, and I'll just include just random rows. That's the first thing that comes to my mind. Just, I'll call this engineering. CR is just control board, just random notes there. Then I'll get the simplified minutes. Once you go there, you can click on data on that tab and you refresh all, because once you do refresh, basically refresh and brings all the notes that you put in the meeting minutes tab. Once that's done and you just want to have a PDF file now, you just click on file and then you go down to print. And then here you just want to make sure that it's Adobe PDF or print to PDF, whatever the setting is on your computer. And then you make sure that it is a landscape orientation, so it gives you that width to capture all the notes. And then at the bottom here, it has to be fit all columns on one page. And as I mentioned, these all instructions are included there. And then once you're done with these settings here, you just click print, and that will save it as a PDF to whatever location you decide to. And now I'm gonna open it to show you basically how it's gonna look like. Bingo, right there. So that's the one that we just saved right now. Yeah, and this is basically the PDF that you could share with anyone that have any Excel accessibility issue. Then we have a question from Jerry. What will be the new deliverable for the project management task? In the past, meeting minutes logs were expected to be submitted for the project as a whole. What will be the new deliverable? I don't think, correct me if I'm wrong, James, I don't think we're gonna have the project management or should project management? I think yes, we should probably. Why not? To have the project management test there because it has the due date, which is going to be the last date of the project. Yeah, I would say include the project management task as in here, and then you're gonna have that deliverable date. But then to address your second question, you said in the past, meeting minutes logs were expected to be submitted for the project as a whole. Meaning, go ahead, James.
I guess, yeah, on that, Jerry, are you asking about like the final deliverable that gets submitted as part of the project management task once a work plan is completed, or like on a monthly basis?
Yeah, so once a project is completed now, we compile our meeting minutes into like a long document, and we've been asked to submit those in the past. So I guess kind of goes back to Jesse's question, whether do we just compile all these Excel PDFs into one, or how would we do that?
I mean, this could, if you each month populate the Excel table and then pop out the simplified minutes as a PDF. Then that could provide you with your log at the end of the project that I think could probably be submitted, to meet that same request that we had previously. But this can take the place of any current meeting minutes process that you are using, right? We can just provide simplified minutes, and that would be that minutes log I think you're referring to here, unless I'm misunderstanding.
Yeah, I guess it was more so for like the project as a whole. Like once we're concluded, now what we do is like compile all of the meeting minutes we took over the years into one document and submit that onto FAST. So would we just do the same thing, compile all the PDFs into one and then submit that?
Yes, this could take the place of that meeting log that's compiled.
Thank you.
Because I guess really there wouldn't be a separate meeting minutes, being prepared and provided for projects. Because I understand right now you have different approaches to taking the meeting minutes, but we're expecting that this is going to be adopted as the new method for that going forward. So yeah, this can be used to provide that log. But again, it's probably easiest to do that using the simplified minutes tab monthly.
Thank you, James. Then we have a question from Jesse, basically saying if we change if we have an informal updated timeline that is not on the work plan and does not match the deliverable due date, does not. So this one will have to be then on the actual submission date, or the
deliverable due date should match what is in the work plan.
Right.
We wouldn't want to adjust that outside of what's in an approved version.
Right. So any other date that you think is going to be the actual date, then it needs to be included here instead. And then what does orange text mean? The orange text is just set examples. This is just strictly examples. So you can basically change this to whatever fits, your work plan. I just left that there for visuals. And then the second question, which is, I believe, is the same, which is about also the default orange text to black. Yes, Ryan, this all would need to be changed to black. So once you modify this template to fit the work plan, everything should be in black, and the new text has to be in blue. If a task is canceled, how do we reflect that on this form?
Really quick, Slim. There was another part of that question. Can we change the width of columns to make the text more readable? And I think we'd say yes.
Yes, absolutely.
That's fine on the meeting minutes tab. I think if you adjust the simplified minutes tab, that might mess up the sizing in the final PDF document. But I don't see an issue with adjusting on the meeting minutes tab.
Yes, feel free to do the adjustments Only thing that is locked, basically, all the fields that are required to be filled, these are completely locked. You can't change them. This will have to go through us through formal requests, and then if we're gonna include any new fields or adjust any fields, then we're gonna have to modify the template and send it to all tier providers so everyone has the same template. But yes, this all the fields here, they're open. You can include whatever you want. You can format the cells. You can do all of that. We have a good question from Jesse, which is, if a task is canceled, how do we reflect that on this form? Should we be capturing all historical task deliverables on this form, including completed and canceled tasks? You want to take that, James?
Yeah, if a task is canceled and that's reflected, through an official work plan amendment, I think you can remove it from the table. But until it's removed through an official work plan amendment, I think we'd want to leave it on the table here. But of course, you can include a note or the action item. You can indicate that that's a canceled task or that there's not progress being made, and just kind of clarifying the notes on that. But I mean, until it's officially updated in a work plan amendment, we probably still want to keep it on the table.
Thank you, James. Then we have also another questions from Jesse, which is, how do we address new task deliverables added after the initial work plan approval? See column A on meeting minutes tab. We may have more than lines 14 to 33, but there are formulas we need to copy over. James, if you want to take this, because I don't think you can have new task deliverables added after the initial work plan without an amendment, right?
Or if we have a new, I guess, is a question like how to actually include and reflect a new deliverable that gets added to a work plan through a later amendment. And I assume if we just insert a column on the Excel sheet here, would that copy over
Oh, you mean
the existing
okay,
equations?
Yeah, here you just basically insert, like, you can delete or insert any of that here.
Yeah, and if you insert a row, I think that would bring the existing equations along with it.
So when you insert, let's see the existing equations. Yeah, so this equation here, we'll just have to copy it from.
It's really the duration. Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, yeah, it was just added already automatically. So every time you insert one, you look here, the equation is copied automatically from above. So you just need to fill the information and it will automatically calculate the days and then develop the Gantt chart. Okay. Then we have a question from Edsel. She says, I'm on a project that has both an active SAFER and septic to sewer work plan. We discuss both projects in the same monthly meeting because the deliverables, partners, and timelines are basically the same. How would you use these meeting minutes for those types of joint meetings without less the deliverables, budget, and timeframes for just the SAFER aspect of the project? So I believe, yes, they have to be separate notes because they are two separate projects.
In a situation like that, I mean, that's where it could make more sense to have a separate tab, one tab for each work plan that tracks the deliverables of each of them. You might have to jump back and forth as you discuss them through the meeting. But yeah, I mean, you would still want to have, updates for each of the specific work plan deliverables between the drinking water and wastewater projects. And I think that could be accommodated, Salim, if we had a tab meeting minutes for one AR and the other AR, and then have a simplified minutes for each of those AR tabs. Or maybe that's something we can look into.
like having 2 meeting minute steps and 2 simplified minutes, one for the safer, one for septic. This
Mhm.
kind of, yeah, I can look into that. All right. But then we have Christine. We have a question from Christine. Would you be able to provide guidance on getting the Gantt chart to update with the inter-deliverable due dates? When I extend the dates past the template values, the chart doesn't seem to show the new date. Does it involve updating the access bounds? So you're saying basically these dates are not changing, the one on top, once you put new. So let me see here. So
Yeah, when I update those dates, they don't show on the Gantt chart. You see how that didn't?
Gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. I didn't notice that. Yeah, I can work on updating this one.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
you may need to adjust the access dates at
Yeah.
the top of the chart, right? If it goes beyond the final date, is that the issue?
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like those access dates would need to be updated, possibly manually, but maybe we can work on updated guidance for if you have to extend it beyond the current date of February 2025.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you so much. I did not notice that. I'll work on it and I will provide a new updated template. All right. And last we have here, last question from Jesse. Are we meant to capture historical information? Should tasks completed before today be included in the forum? Is this forum and associated monthly meetings expected for new work plans that are pending approval? Historical information.
I think in terms
So,
of like historical information around the deliverable dates, actual submission dates for deliverables that are included in a work plan that we're tracking in a monthly project. Yeah, I could see, entering in that information, having the dates would be helpful. I don't know that we would need to go back and capture previous notes from previous meetings for the historical information. Seems like we could just have that information going forward on the pending deliverables. But I don't know if that's your question, Jesse. And then is this form expected for new work plans that are pending approval? Yes, once those work plans get approved and we begin monthly meetings, we would expect this form to be utilized.
that's a good question. Hold on, let me double check if
So I think what you are referencing,
the
Salam, when you're listing the D number, that
that's
is, it's referring to the contract number for a funding agreement, correct?
correct for the master agreement. Right, not the construction. I think, yeah, earlier I did, yeah. My apologies. I think I said something else earlier. I did mention the construction instead of the actual master agreement for the TA provider. Because that's, yeah, that goes there and then the construction one goes here. Associated funding agreements, that's where the construction goes. Correct. Good question. Thanks for pointing that out. And then we have a question from Heather. If we are working on multiple milestones at once, How do we complete the current DA milestone section? During design, this will almost always be true. Yeah, so if you are, for example, finalizing the engineering report and at the same time working on design, then it will be full planning for funding. So some of the work plans, it starts with the feasibility study, engineering report, and then you amend it to do the full planning. So you will do phase 4 as full planning, even though you're still working on the engineering report, because you already have a full work plan. You already have the work plan amended for full planning. You already started on the design. Let's assume you are working on community outreach and a feasibility study at the same time, then you will put a feasibility study. And last question here from Adam, so because we are reaching time, is so if we have monthly meetings during work plan development, we are not doing this yet. So during work plan development, correct. If you have a monthly meeting, for example, there's a kickoff meeting, then you're going to be using this, because that's basically it replaces the existing monthly meeting notes. And with that, it's 10 o'clock. I just want to be mindful of everyone's time here. I'm going to stop sharing my screen and also stop the recording. Yes. So yeah.